the Slovenian alien Pogacar has the yellow jersey of the Tour de France after a 2-year wait. But our beloved Danish anchovy Vingegaard has demonstrated just how many watts he can produce on 20% slopes. Yes, the duel longed for by all has finally materialised, something we already told you about on this humble channel. We will certainly relish the combat in this Grand Boucle for the 4th consecutive year. The team from Bretagne won its first victory in the Tour after 20 years of existence, and France achieved repeat winners on the first 2 stages of its national round, the first time since 1968, when the not-often-remembered Charlie Grosco won his only 2 victories in the Tour, in a magical year for him as a professional cyclist. And to top it all off, the Astana team paid the best possible tribute to the now-retired Michele Gazzoli, with another 24 minutes lost by Cavendish and his 4 magical gregarios. Remember to subscribe to this channel if you want more Tour content every day, and you can also do the same on our celebrity channel, Celebs Highlights, and you can enter the draw for a fantastic Van Rijssel bike. The rules are in the posted comment. Now, without further ado, let the show begin. The day began with some beautiful front pages from the French newspapers devoted to their idol Bardet after the exhibition of the Sunweb team and the motorbikes of the organisation during the first stage, finishing in Rimini. In this town, the drug addict Marco Pantani died 20 years ago, and then the starting town of the second stage, Cesenatico, was where he was born. In a hilarious way, the Tour de France paid tribute to the Italian pirate by bringing his tinfoil conspiracy parents on stage, whom, well, we can't blame for having a much more lily-white bleached image of their offspring. Boy, they tried to educate in the best possible way and keep him away from the evil clutches of that Danish go-go dancer and snake. Now, she is certainly always a Dane. It's especially surprising because Jean-Marie Leblanc's Grand Boucle was always in favour of Pantani's greatest enemies, such as the guy who won 7 tours with only 1 egg, whistling country and western songs, and our friend of the channel, the follically challenged and beloved by all here, Bjarne Riis. But now, 20 years later, and seeing that Pantani, the mystic, charismatic, romantic with the air of an innocent who fell into drugs simply because of bad luck, well, he has won many, many fans. He deserves a tribute, even though in 2013 we knew that he won his 1998 Tour totally doped up to his dyed eyebrows. But he was treated like garbage after the year 2000 for preferring to go to the Giro rather than the Tour. Oh, affairs of marketing and cycling, which go on today, something Christian Prudhomme loves, as long as the mayor of the day keeps the cash piled high when he hands the plate over to Omery Sports. And despite being clearly in favour of the victory of a certain cyclist and belittling the rest of the peloton, a certain cyclist who declared that he was going to attack just hours later in San Luca. Perhaps he should have listened to the statements of his rival, who was not afraid to say that he was going to leave a certain cyclist's jersey smelling of seaweed from being glued to his wheel. Now, one piece of good news from today, which hopefully wasn't a mirage, as we enjoy another long, broken stage on the way to Bologna, is that it looks like those breakaway agreements on Grand Tours that the snitch Alex Dowsett was telling us about are over. These breakaways were always made up of at most 4 riders, and always from pro-continental teams or very low-level teams, and usually with men of little relevance. And in 2024, although they have not fought too much, and I think that in the 3rd stage they won't fight at all, we can perhaps look forward to numerous breakaways with people of a certain level on days where they can win, and that was certainly the case today. The 11 escapees were a long way from Bardet in the general classification, but nevertheless they were good rouleurs, like Nelson Oliveira of Banesto or Mike Turnison of Verandas Willems, or good all-rounders like the Breton Kévin Vauquelin and Christian Rodriguez, and even 2 teammates of Andrea Piccolo in the past at Astana. There was the Canadian Hugo Hull, now with the Jewish Israel Premier Tech team, and the Colombian Harold Tejada, who wanted to dedicate the win to not only Piccolo and Valentino Gomez, but also to Gazzoli. Poor Michele, He suffered his second major sporting mishap yesterday after testing positive for 2-aminoheptane in a Portuguese village race in 2022, being his first major sporting mishap. Vicente Beldavicedo's disciple wanted to silence all the criticism for his teammate Cavendish's vomitous show the day before, and so he worked like a mule with the rest of the escapees, preventing dangerous men like Michael Matthews from getting close to today's 11 chosen riders. They immediately extended their lead to 6 minutes over the bunch, where, just after passing the Formula One circuit, where Senna and Ratzenberger died, and just before the intermediate sprint in Toscanella di Dozza, the first major tragedy of the day occurred. An absurd crash in the middle of the bunch. It took out 2 Rabobank riders, and not just anyone. We're talking about the Belgian bot and the Gregario of Gregarios, Jorgensen, and they had to be treated by the medical car with clear cuts and scratches on their toned bodies. There was even more suffering for the man with contacts inside the stable of Richard Plugge, the Sky rider Laurens de Plus, who had some serious, notorious injuries that hopefully will not prevent him from continuing at the level he's displayed in this campaign. With 2 of the Anchovies' important Gregarios involved in the crash, no team dared to work to leave them behind, not in the face of Vingegaard's impassive, unforgiving face. Certainly not the Slovenian alien Sonia Duval team. They were totally fearful of the monstrosities that might emerge from the Dutch team. This relative halt in the bunch increased the breakaways' gap to 9 minutes, with 70 kilometers to go, and thus increased their chances of a stage victory. Only a willing customer of Kolobnev's hotels and Granada's hypoxic chambers, Victor Kampenaerts, set to work in the interests of his teammate Van Gils, and willing to show that Lotto are more than ready for this edition of the Tour. In fact, Victor alone, with just a little help from a particular Red Bull, cut the breakaways gap to the peloton from 9 to 4.5 minutes, and in just 20 kilometers. A brutal performance that was cut short on the first pass of the climb to San Luca, which of course they would have to do twice. The press seemed to take a delight in cackling that on this same ascent to the Bolognese Basilica, Poggi had failed twice in Giro dell'Emilia. That was the skier Rogler and the hilarious Enric Mas. However, we at Cycling Highlights prefer to remember the legendary ascent of the White Kenyan when he had not yet contracted bilharzia and he was riding for the legendary doped Team Barlow World. That was the 2009 Giro d'Italia, a climb where he was fulminated by the Tic Gerrans in an absolutely brilliant way in the most doped Corsa Rosa in history. This time around, the Belgian bot and Tish Benoot sacrificed themselves for the Anchovy, but again, neither Almeida nor Ayuso, the 2 biggest scourges that Urske Ziggaard's mystical boyfriend will face in this tour, well, neither of them followed Rabobank's work. The result was a new break that now, yes, gave the victory to the breakaway, which escaped to almost 4 minutes with 30 kilometers to go, despite the effort of Kampenaerts. Meanwhile, Cavendish was once more unhooked, although without throwing Giovanbattista Riera's pizza out of his mouth this time. But he lost minutes and minutes along with his 4 Astana Gregarios and Fabio Jakobsen, who is now a source of worry to all those who thought he could overcome his drama. Now in that breakaway there was also a Norwegian from the much improved Uno X, and he won the red polka dot jersey the day before after going over several passes in first place. This is Jonas, but not our seaweed-smelling Jonas, for this Jonas has the surname Abrahamsen and smells like the greenest fjord grass. Grass is particularly appropriate because, before he was a cyclist, just like the great Focus in Evenepoel, he used to kick a ball, and then after an injury, he got on a bike. Just 1.5 years ago, he underwent a second mutation, growing from being a scrawny 59-kilogram climber to a 78-kilogram powerful multi-tool. And curiously, since then, like Enevit Inderijn, he climbs much, much better up the mountain passes, despite having the build of a pure rouleur. The Norwegian had already put on a great show this year at both the Brussels Classic and the Grand Prix Waregem. But in this tour, he's proving that Norwegian herbs are really powerful. They will have to be banned from all the CBD stores in the slums of Europe. Abrahamsen took first place on all of the day's climbs, including the first ascent through San Luca, and then on the descent he took off on the decisive move alongside Oliveira and Vauquelin, to the cheers of Tejada, who couldn't catch these escapees on a dangerous, classic Giro dell'Emilia descent. The trio achieved a 50-second lead before the second ascent to the Basilica, and Vauquelin, from the start, showed his superior climbing ability, and didn't really surprise anyone, for this year he'd already finished second behind the very strange Williams at Flèche Wallonne, and he was on top form after finishing second in the national time trial behind an invincible Van Rijssel. It was his moment, and he seized it, crossing the finish line as the winner, and then taking out the baguette that his mother sells in the villages and smashing it in the face of Jonas from the fjords. But still, with 400 kilometers under the blazing Tuscan sun for a Norwegian, very remarkable, for what Gazzoli didn't like, Abrahamsen copes with wonderfully. Let's hope he puts on another 3 or 4 kilos more to be able to be a candidate to win on every type of terrain in 2025. Behind, after an excellent job by Adam Yates, a mirror in which others should take a good look, came the announced moment of Pogacar's attack, a disintegrating attack that left behind the big names like Roglic and Mas, Carlos Rodriguez, Eganito Bernal, Van Rijsselgal, or indeed the yellow jersey himself, Romain Bardet. But then, right onto his wheel, after 88 days in the deepest waters, the most beautiful anchovy of the cycling world jumped. Yes, it was Jonas Vingegaard, proving Laurens de Plus right. It didn't matter that he'd spent weeks at home resting. At the necessary moment, almost effortlessly, he stuck to Tadej Pogacar's wheel and wrapped his fins around the slimy green skin of his Slovenian alien rival. Together they climbed, of course at the fastest pace ever, beating Roglic's record on this climb in 2019. A Roglic who on this occasion was practically standing still, without the wings that his precious dark blue jersey should have given him. These two left everyone else behind, except for 2 brave ones who dared to jump out of the already diminished bunch. There was Focus in Evenepoel, who was never going to emerge that quickly after an attack of that power and insanity, and Richard Carapaz, who from now on is going to be called Richard Caratro, because he fooled us all by insisting, after the arrest of his teammate Piccolo for drug trafficking, that he was not in his best possible shape and that he would only be fighting for stages. The strange duo of the pizza delivery boy and the Olympic champion caught up with the dynamic duo of aliens at the end of the descent and crossed the finish line together, enough to take 21 seconds out of Bardet's group and take away the yellow jersey, which, by count back of positions in the previous stage, went to the Slovenian alien. Pogacar was congratulated by Focusing in what seems to be a kind of pact, something to which we will be very attentive over the coming stages. Carapaz is now postulated for the fight for the overall, in the same year that his team is being investigated, and then Jonas of the Fjords, well, he won the red and green jerseys at the same time after his spectacular exhibitions. But our Jonas, the original Jonas, the anchovy, he has won much, much more today. His rival has the yellow jersey, but Jonas has shown him that he's going to have to sweat an awful lot more in his streamlined aero bra if he wants to keep it.